Hello everyone, this is part 7 of the paper discussion. We'll be discussing question number 8 of section B. This will be the last video of this 2025 series of paper 1. So the questions are: the theme of conflict between personal desire and social expectations manifest in Maggie's life choices in the novel The Mill on the Floss discuss. So these are the themes which have been asked by UPSC over the years. So it is better to prepare these themes, and in all the three questions, we can see the role of social class played in Tess and Mark Twain's portrayal of race and slavery. These are the themes which have been recurrent. So before the exams, we have to prepare these, because everybody is going to write a good answer in of these themes. So we can prepare beforehand so that we be prepared and we write a better answer. And the more dynamic our answer will be, the more marks will be awarded to us. So preparing for the questions. The first question is: the theme of conflict between personal desire and social expectations manifests in Maggie's life choices. So we have to also refer about the life choices of Maggie. Okay, so we can see the tension between personal desire and social expectations in Mill on the Floss is a central conflict that defines Maggie Tulliver's existence and her the trajectory of her life. Also, George Eliot portrays this struggle as an ethical dilemma where the protagonist's intellectual and emotional needs are consistently thwarted by the rigid norms of St. Talk society. So we can see from childhood, Maggie's intellectual ambition is viewed as with suspicion. Her father observes that she's too cute for a woman, reflecting the era's belief that a girl's intelligence was a liability rather than an asset. And also, Maggie's intellectual ambition is viewed as a defect by St. Talk society. And while Tom is groomed for leadership, Maggie is forced into maidenly modesty, creating an internal conflict with her thirst for knowledge, which is suppressed by the patriarchal limitations. So George Eliot defines Maggie's essence as a hunger for heart and intense need for love. So this personal desire is inherently at odds with the community's rigid moral code. Maggie attempts to resolve this tension through the asceticism of Thomas A. Kempis, aiming to find peace or renunciation. Um, but Maggie's choices regarding Philip Wickham and Stephen Guest serves as a focal point for a rebellion. So her attraction to them and the resulting societal backlash proves that any pursuit of personal romantic happiness is treated as a moral transgression that mandates public shaming. Also, her death in the flood is the final and symbolic escape from this binary, so unable to exist as both an autonomous individual and a complainant member of the Saint Dogs. Maggie finds that the only space where her personal desire and duty can converge, the destruction of the social order itself. So it is also said Maggie was born much ahead of her times, and in order to uh, in order to be herself, she has to finally die because the society could not accept her, a woman so ahead of her times. The next question is: elaborate the role of social class played in Tess of the D'Urberville, in the novel Tess of the D'Urberville. Okay, so Thomas Hardy in Tess of the D'Urberville presents the social class as a deterministic force uh, rather than being a background topic. So the social class acts as a deterministic force that systematically strips Tess's for her autonomy and leads her tragic end. So the novel's title, centered on the D'Urberville name, highlights the cruel irony of social hierarchy. Tess's father, John D'Urberville, discovers his noble ancestry, leading him to treat his family's name as a commodity. And this fatal pride makes Tess vulnerable, as it encourages her to seek kinship with the wealthy elect D'Urberville, directly facilitating her exploitation. Also attests class position. The laboring rural poor renders her interchangeable and expendable. Hardy contrasts her plight with the wealthy class. Also, her low status ensures that no legal or social recourse when she was violated by Elec, as the power dynamic is heavily weighted against her. So she could not do anything, even though she was so grossly treated by the men of the novel. Also, social class dictates how Tessa's fall is perceived. The middle class morality, represented by Angel Clare, is unable to reconcile his idealized vision of pure peasant girl with the reality of her experience. Also, Tessa's attempts to ascend to the social ladder and find stability are portrayed as futile. Whether at the dairy farm, the pastoral paradise, or the harsh working conditions of Flintcomb Ash, Tess, Tess remains trapped in the social economic structures of 19th century England. And lastly, Hardy explicitly subtitled the novel A Pure Woman, challenging the class coded assumption of that poverty and sexual transgression equate to moral depravity. By forcing the reader to view Tess as a noble figure, despite her status, Hardy critiques a society that uses social class as a proxy for moral worth, ultimately showing that tragedy is a product of the class bound values of St. Ogg's society. Moving on to next question. Interpret how Mark Twain's portrayal of race and slavery reflects the attitudes of his time in the novel The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. Okay, so these questions have been asked multiple times in the previous years. So, Mark Twain's Adventure of the Huckleberry Finn is a complex reflection we know of the 19th century American racial tension, and it critiques and embodies the prejudices of its era. So, the novel's central tension lies in Huck's moral development. If we have read the novel, it shows that while Huck's heart is sound and recognizes Jim's humanity. His deformed conscience, shaped by the Southern framework where slavery is legal and is not considered a sin, it continuously tells Huck that helping a runaway slave is a sin. And this reflects the intense cognitive dissonance faced by individual of the South when confronted with the morality of slavery. Okay, Twain uses the pervasive use of the racial slurs to authentically recreate the linguistic environment of Mississippi Valley, while some of the words which he uses presents how the racial discrimination were faced by the slaves. Also, in contrast, the prevailing minstrel show stereotypes of the time, Twain elevates Jim to a position of emotional depth and loyalty, and also paternal wisdom. By giving Jim the capacity for deep grief, Twain challenges the racist pseudoscience of the 1880s that claimed that enslaved people lacked complex inner lives and dehumanized them. Also, Twain ruthlessly satirizes the hypocritical morality of the white characters, and particularly those who attend the church or profess Christian values while participating in or supporting the institutions of slavery. He uh, he exposes how civilization, as represented by the Granger Fords and Shepherd's Sons, was often defined by violence and class vanity. Also, despite the abolition of slavery, the persistent racial and social structures of the post Civil War period made genuine liberation and equality elusive, a reality Twain captures through the ongoing entrapment and marginalization of Jim. So, this was all we have to discuss about these questions. I'll be starting paper 2, and the notes of the questions will be provided in my Telegram channel. Thank you.